In this video, you are going to complete your masterpiece poem, Final Draft. For your final draft, you are going to take the rough draft that you wrote in your poetry packet number 3 and transfer it into the final draft. So make sure you have your poetry packet number 3 with the final poem that you wrote, your masterpiece. So here's that rough draft that I put together, and I'm going to transfer it now into this final draft using Kami. When I'm done, I'm going to turn it in, and my masterpiece poem final draft has to be submitted by Wednesday at midnight. So as I open up with Kami, now I've highlighted some requirements here, and it does look a little different than our other final drafts. For example, you will be typing your masterpiece poem final draft on the second page of this document. Please remember that this poem is going to be included in a poetry collection, so it will be shared with all of my 7th grade students, all of your classmates, and I might even display it. So whatever you put in this poem, make sure you feel comfortable with others reading it. Now, because it will be shared, you have the option to add your name to your final draft by putting it below your title, or you can leave it anonymous, which means to not put your name under the title, which means no one will know that you wrote the poem except me. So even if somebody sees it in the poetry collection, they won't know that you are the poet. Now, there were very few requirements for our masterpiece poems, but it did need to have a title, and it did need to be at least 10 lines long. Now, to go into the poetry collection, your final draft needs to fit into the box that I provide on page 2. It needs to be in black because of how I'm going to print it, and it needs to be in a readable font so that others can read it and enjoy it. Outside of that, you did get to choose the topic, you did get to choose how many stanzas were in your poem, and you got to choose how many poetic devices you used, if any. So here we go to the second page of the document. This is where you will type your poem, and don't forget your title. So I have my rough draft open next to me, and I'm going to transfer it to my final draft, starting with my title. So I've got a text box, and I'm going to go ahead and type the title of my poem. Now, if I want to add my name to my poem so that people will know that I wrote it, I'll add another text box and type my name in. This means people will know that I'm the writer of The Never-Ending Year. Then I'm going to open another text box and start typing in my poem. And every time I get to the end of a line, I'm going to hit enter so it goes down to the next line, and this will help make sure that my poem is the right amount of lines, with 10 lines being the fewest amount that I'm allowed to use. So now that I have typed my entire masterpiece poem here, I'm going to go through it and just make sure it's what I want to submit. So I can make changes at this point as long as I still keep it at 10 lines or more, and I make sure that it fits within inside this box. So I might decide to add an onomatopoeia here. I'm going to add an extra space so that this is now another stanza. You know what, I'm going to turn my poem into 3 stanzas instead of 1. And I think I'm ready. So this is going to be the final version of my masterpiece poem. Now, before I submit it, I'm going to reconsider. I've decided I don't want my name on my poem. I don't want people knowing that I wrote The Never-Ending Year. when they see it in the poetry collection. So I'm just going to take my name out. I'm going to move my title a little closer, and I've decided to submit it anonymously. Now Miss Borkerding is going to know that I wrote it, but nobody else will. So now that I am happy with my masterpiece poem, I click Turn In twice. It'll take me back to Schoology, and I can hit Submit. And I know I actually have until Wednesday at midnight to submit the final draft of my masterpiece poem. And I remember that whatever I submit will be shared in the poetry collection. And if I have any questions, I know I can talk to Miss Borkerding and get the answers before I submit. Good luck with your masterpiece poem.